Yo, Hegassen here with my review of anime episode 922. Continuing on with my anime catch-up, this episode is called A Tale of Chivalry, Zoro and Tonoyasu's Little Trip. And straight away you're thinking, oh, I don't know, it sounds a little bit like filler. And then you see the episode and it starts off with Zoro gambling, eating jerky. You're like, oh, I don't know if I remember this from the manga. You see Carrot. She's stealing food, she's looking cute, and you're like, I think this is filler. This is filler, isn't it? Well, not really. It is filler, but it isn't, because this is stuff that was just mentioned in the manga, but never actually seen. So while it wasn't in the manga itself, it was alluded to, and this is the perfect material to use as filler. Even though it's not really filler, because it is kind of still canon. But this is the perfect thing to use as like padding so that you're not catching up to the manga. You know, you don't need to just make up filler, make up random arcs. You can just take the stuff that isn't very heavily focused on in the manga or just mentioned in passing. Because this whole thing with the casino, you see when Zoro and Tonoyasu, when you see them at the end of this episode walking away, that is where you cut to in the manga. With just Tonoyasu saying, oh boy, thank you for saving me back then. I thought I was a goner for sure. And then the anime here actually shows that. And this is just the perfect kind of material, the source material that you should be using in the anime to expand it and not fill it up with fluff. So I really like this. I really appreciated it. There was some stuff in here that was like directly from the manga, direct adaptations. A lot of that was like the Franky stuff. And a little bit with the Carrot stuff at the end when she was talking to Kinemon and about the note and everything. But for the most part, a lot of it was just an expansion on off-panel stuff. So let's actually get into that, because a lot of it was just an excuse to have Zoro do some flexing. You know, all of the stuff in the casino, I actually kind of liked it. There was a nice kind of level of tension, kept flicking over to those two little statues. And then, of course, it all ends with Zoro getting in a fight, which is just a good excuse, as I said, to show some Zoro flexing, to show a bit of a Zoro fight. We see him do no sword style, and it is a little bit too effective. Without any swords, he sends everybody flying and blows the roof off the building he's in. Unfortunately, that kind of Haki aura's back. I don't know if you like it. I'm personally not a fan. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the Haki auras. Is it a little bit too Dragon Ball? Is it a little bit too Naruto chakra cloak? I feel like it's a little bit too distracting. I don't mind it like a quick flash of Haki, but I preferred the old kind of style where it was a little bit more invisible and not like a great big glowing purple Zorro. But we see that again here. Again, it was only brief. It's better when it kind of glows at them and goes into the sword, but it's a little bit Pokemon anime, isn't it? But we see Zorro, he does some Haki. And then there's this really interesting scene where he cuts these people. There's this kind of cool like animation style. But it's a little bit weird because at the end, Tonoyasu, who I'll talk about in a little bit, is like, oh, you cut them without even like cutting them. And it's like, well, what happened here? Well, what happened? Like, knocking them out without hitting them. That's Conqueror's Haki. And no way is Zoro just used Conqueror's Haki in some fillery bit of the anime. Even though it's not really filler. I think it was just a cool way of like showing Zoro's kind of skills now with the swords, that he can take down people without having too much blood and guts and everywhere flying about. You know, it's a more PC way of showing Zoro massacre people without it being a bloodbath. And yeah, again, to show his little skill and just to try out some new animation style, I thought it was pretty cool. Let's talk about Tonoyasu. His character was very, very fun. I like him and Zoro's kind of dynamic. They got kind of a good straight man, funny man vibe going on. And he's a lot taller than I remember and a lot bigger. And his head, yeah, his head is a lot bigger than what I remember. I mean, I know it was a big head, but it is very big. Wano has a lot of big-headed people. It's like, is this the secret home of like the big head tribe or something? And then they end the Zoro stuff at just the right amount. You know, they could have expanded this into a whole little filler arc of like Zoro and Tonoyasu going off on some little side quest, but they kept it to one episode, and the episode wasn't even just this stuff. It's like I mentioned, we had Carrot. Carrot was stealing some food, which was something else that was mentioned in the manga, but we didn't actually see it. And we also had some direct stuff from the manga. We had Franky going around trying to get the blueprints. When I read this chapter, it was chapter 929. Just had to remind myself. It was probably one of the weakest chapters so far of Wano, because it was primarily just Franky running around. It felt like it took up way too much of the manga, but here it actually went quite quicker. It flowed quicker. It was a lot more funnier. You know, I feel like the comedy kind of translated a little bit. Yeah, the few little added moments in there as well. And I think this is one of the very, very few examples so far of something that looked much better in the anime than it was in the manga. Normally I tend to prefer how the manga does stuff, and a lot of the stuff recently has kind of been disappointing me how they did it in the anime, like the Kaido reveal. But this was actually one of the better things. It's kind of up there with like the Hawkins fight in terms of the anime actually doing it better than the manga, which is something quite rare for me to say. Although overall, while this episode was a good adaptation and a good use of filler and a good use of padding, I still feel like it was a little bit meh. You know, the stuff that happened in it's side quest stuff. It's side quest stuff. It's nice to know. It's nice to do. But at the end of the day, it's just a little distraction from the main story. It's not super important stuff, but it's good to know. So for me, I'll give this episode a blue tier, but I do really, really appreciate them adapting some stuff that was off panel and not over exaggerating it, and generally doing it really well. Hey, so thanks for watching. What did you think? Let me know about it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed my video, maybe give it a like, and if you really liked it, why not subscribe? You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Twitch. Oh, and here's a related video you might enjoy, and something more fresh. I've been Hegassen, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!